Well, welcome to another premiere. And this is a fun one. It's an unveiling after a very long road of taking a machine literally out of the ashes and making it a phoenix. Let's look at where it was, and then eventually we'll move this partition and you'll be able to see where it is now. And this machine came out of the great state of Florida from my friend Mark, who said, I don't need a working machine, Scott. I just want to have an heirloom piece that can be displayed for generations to come to show the beauty of our family and the beauty of its legacy. And I said, Mark, I've never done that before. I always will prepare a machine so that it's ready to sew. So no promises there, but I will give you an heirloom piece that if it's never sewn on again, will be spectacular, just like a phoenix. So with that, let me take us over to Facebook and show you where we started, and then we'll come over to this workbench again and see where we are now. Well, like the Chinese proverb says, any journey, long or short, begins with the first step. And this is the first step. I mean, after the unboxing anyway. Let me get some lights on. So as you can see, there's nothing spectacular about Marc's machine when it arrives. It's very rough from one end to the other and covered in rust. Kind of zoom in a little bit closer so you can see. And every part on the machine has to come off because it has to be individually restored. It cannot be restored on the machine. There's just no way. Every part of Marc's machine was just covered in varnishing, veneer, lacquer, and even rust. This is the upper tension we're looking at, which would not even function when I started, which based on the customer's expectations would not have been an issue, but it was for me. That is a cool song. Yes, it is. And that one was called Dr. Momentum, I think. It might have been Heads Up. I don't remember. Yeah, it was Heads Up. This is Dr. Momentum. Dr. Momentum. Just filthy. Not you, Doctor. The machine. And wiring that was a fire hazard beyond imagination. That's bare wires, folks. That's rust. Yikes. There's no way you're going to wind a bobbin on that machine. Woo! Holy mackerel! It was caught in a hailstorm of bullets or something. Ugh. Oh my goodness gravy. That is not going to cut it as a family heirloom. No, it's not. Woo, yeah. Oh, wow. What? To get off some of the parts, I had to use my torch. They just would not budge. I think that's full circle. Almost. Almost. We're getting there. Taking it all the way down to bare metal. That's a fun song, isn't it? Takes us back to dial-up. Do you remember, any of you remember dial-up as far as the internet? You were waiting for all those beeps and groans and sounds so that eventually you were connected. You get an idea of the process and the time that it took to get this machine moving forward. Basically taking it all the way down to a bare bones foundation and then building it all the way back up again. That's what a machine looks like in its birthday suit. You could imagine when this machine was actually built back in the day, And if you want to have a little bit of fun looking up the birth date of this machine, let me see if I have the serial number written down. I think I do. Okay, not guaranteed on this because I have it just scribbled on the back of a paper that Mark had sent me. But the date of this machine should be A as in Apple, C as in Charlie, 034618. AC 034618. Take a few seconds and look that up. And then post it in the chat. The full birth date, the production group size, etc., etc., etc. And if you're the first one to do it, I might send you something special. I might just do that. Okay? I think we're about full circle. It's hard to tell. Once the machine is in its birthday suit, it's hard to tell the beginning and the end, isn't it? One of these days, I'm going to take a Class 66 similar to this one and take it all the way down to bare metal like this. And then I'm going to clear coat it and leave it just like that. Would anyone be interested? Let's say that I either offered it for purchase or maybe offered it as a giveaway for hitting a milestone on the YouTube channel. And if you don't know it, I just announced on Facebook that we are only 6 subscribers away from hitting our next major milestone on the YouTube Cow Country channel. When we hit 11,000 subscribers. I never imagined this channel would go that far, and it's because of all of you stepping up and clicking subscribe. But like I've said in other premieres, the subscribership of almost 11,000 is about 1/5 the number of people that come and visit that channel and watch videos every single month. And 1/5 is like on a slow month. We get on average, on the low end, 50 to 55,000 unique views where people are watching videos every month. And then on busy months, we'll go over 100,000. I think our peak was around 145,000 unique viewers from around the world, about 126 countries. How crazy incredible is that, to know that we have brothers and sisters in the VSM family around the world that appreciate these treasures as much as we do. That is just like, what? What? But it's absolutely true. I could take any one of you behind the scenes, and I've actually shown video clips behind the scenes, and I've shown you those stats so that you can see all the countries that visit the channel, all, the demographics. We're still a little bit heavier on the guy side, but the ladies have stepped up dramatically, and the numbers are starting to even out quite a bit as far as viewership of ladies versus men. Men have been dominant almost from the beginning, and it's probably because I'm a guy. If I were a gal with my dynamic, fun approach to presenting VSM, probably would have more viewers that were ladies. But I still, as far as our active viewers that get involved with premieres and everything, it's probably heavier on the ladies' side. So guys might hit the numbers a little bit higher, but the ladies step up and get out of the shadows and say, hey! So kudos to the ladies. Come on, guys, you can do better, right? So if you didn't look it up yet and put it in the chat, then you need to work on your typing skills. Yes, you do. But what you'll find, assuming the serial number I gave you that's written on the back of this envelope that Mark sent me is correct, then what you're going to find is that the machine that you saw in a rusty, veneered, varnished, cruddy, disgusting state that arrived at the workshop was born back on February 1st, 1928. February 1st, 1928. Any of you want to do the math and type in the chat how old that machine will be on its next birthday in February of 2022? Would you do that, please? Any of you mathematicians? Again, born February 1st, 1928, and we're coming up soon on the next birthday for this machine that belongs to Mark on February 1st of 2022. I had too many Oreos this morning. I'm getting a little bit of a brain cramp. You know what I mean? It's like, don't swim for at least 45 minutes and don't do a premiere for at least 2 hours. I didn't follow that rule. I probably should have. But again, it's cool to think back in the day on February 1st, 1928, this machine was going down that assembly line and looked just like you're seeing it right now. And then eventually it went through all the stages and steps, similar stages and steps as you've seen in the video that I have posted on the landing page of the YouTube channel that takes you on a tour of the Scotland Singer plant in Kelbowie, Scotland. And you see the meticulous, painstaking process of taking that machine from its birthday suit like this, actually even before its birthday suit, to the point where it's being molded in that molten metal and everything, comes out of there and it's polished and it's shined and it's tumbled and it's done all those different things. Assuming you've watched that video, you already know what I'm talking about. But then as it goes down the line, there's more and more hands that touch that machine, lovingly touch that machine, and add all the appointments and the adornments, or some of you refer to it, all of the jewelry, so that when it reaches the end of that line, it's ready for a major premiere like this. A major premiere like this, where it can show itself off and say, look at me. You can remember where I started in those pictures that Scott shared. You can remember the rust. You can remember the scratches. You can remember the veneering and the varnishing and the gook and the slime and the blah. That's the past. This is the present. And when I get back to Florida, after Scott painstakingly protects me and packs me for my journey home, that will be my future with Mark's family for generations and generations and generations and generations to come. So with all of that blah, 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 let me point the camera at the other workbench, get a couple more lights on, and let's see what transformation has happened again. The magic of the workshop. Taking a machine from the ashes, as my friends say in the UK, from the dustbin to the trophy case. Of course we need unveiling music. Are you kidding me? What should we pick? Somebody's trying to get me. What should we pick here? Vital Whales. What does that sound like? Ah, no. The Stoic and the Sailor. Ah, no. Early Avril. No. That sounds like the end of Titanic or something. Lifelong. Ooh, this is fun. It's not dramatic enough, though. It's got a good beat, but it's not quite dramatic enough. Madam Walla Halla Beat, or something like that. And not quite. Bella Bella beat. All right, I'll go with this. Yeah, I will. I'll go with this. Now let's go the other way. Maybe I should just lift it up, huh? I don't know. All right, Scott. Your followers and fans are very patient, but they are going to storm your house any second now and tear down the workshop. Two, three. All right, I hear you. We got to come off the tripod, right? Yeah, we do. So what do you think? Type in the chat what your reaction is. Oh, we didn't even look at the back, did we? Ah, nope. Remember all the rust on here? The other thing you, being extremely smart students, the other thing you noticed is this was supposed to be a non-working ornamental machine. Could I do that? No, I couldn't. I had to have it leave the workshop so that it was working, right? Yeah, I did. It just had to. So not only does it look gorgeous, but it also sews. Page 34. All right, back up on the tripod. A little bit more music, because this is going to be definitely a music premiere. You're not going to get me to be silent on this one. Those of you that are music haters. Haters of music! Right about there. Because I don't have the motor restored on this, I'm going to have to crank it by hand. Because when it gets to Mark's place, it's just going to be on display. What else do we have? Juice now. Oh, this sounds fun. The Bone Train. The Bone Train, and I'll turn this way down. The Bone Train. How do you make up a title like that? I don't think you can. All right. Well, let's crank off a little bit of stitching on this, shall we? And we'll walk around the machine a little bit more. Yes, even the bobbin winder works. I had to add a new kickback spring to it, which, you know what, because I tend to be very frugal and conservative, but at the same time I tend to be very much like, okay, we need to do this right. Because it's going to be a non-working machine for Mark, but it had to work, right? It had to work, and it wouldn't pop up. What's a machine without being poppy, right? I mean, that's my opinion anyway. All right. How about some genuine elk hide? And this is our control over here for stitch length. This model 66 originally came with a screw type adjuster, as you've seen in some of the other Premieres, where you screw it in, it's not numbered, and it's a guessing game as far as how far you have to turn it in to get the smallest stitch, or how far you have to turn it out to get a larger stitch. So there you go. They added this little apparatus that I had to take off and disassemble and do a complete restoration of, because it was just, well, you saw it in the pictures. And now with this little apparatus added, not only do you have a way of defining stitch length and even locking it into place with this, but you can even bring it all the way up and sew in reverse and back tack. Similar to the much later version of the 66-8 that you just saw me do for Trapper Jack. Trader Chapper Jack, yeah. All right, so let's crank off some stitches after all of that blah, blah, blah. And if you want to get some coffee, some bagels, I'll be here for a while. That's okay. At least I got music to crank by. This is kind of cool. Hold on a second, there's a little spot on the front of the machine. Not to mention I need a break. Because I did bring this to a page 34 level, but I didn't absolutely fully optimize it, so it's a little bit hard to turn. That's okay, I didn't do my push-ups today. And as you probably know as well, Class 66 machines do not sit level. So like Trapper Jack's machine, the 66-8 that you would have seen recently premiered, this one has a furniture sliding pad on the rear of the machine underneath that pedestal foot to give it more of a stable sewing base. And I'm not sure how eventually Mark is going to set this up. Since it doesn't have to sew for him, you know, we'll wait and see. But the reality is he'll be able to use the machine if he changes his mind. Whoops, I'm winding a bobbin. Just bumped that. And I had not done an off-camera sew-off on Mark's machine with this genuine elk hide, so we'll see if we are at page 34. Otherwise, we might have to make an adjustment before we do protected full-grain leather and before we do some Italian leather. I think it's the other piece that I cut. All right, I didn't want to start the race well and not finish it, so I went all the way down, all the way down. And I would say confidently that we are at page 34. Not to mention, did you hear, other than my panting, how quietly the machine operates? Okay, well, I am not going to set this on the bed of the machine. I'll put it all the way down here. Put on some more music and adjust the camera, and then we'll take a look at these stitches I just cranked off on Marc's 1928 Class 66. Nothing on me. I have no idea what this is going to sound like. Let's check it out. Yeah, I would say this is looking at stitch music, wouldn't you? Yeah, I think so. All right, let's go down there. Pause. That was cool. My phone went off right as I said pause. Again, this is genuine elk hide, folks. About 4 or 5 ounces of leather. Cranked off by Scott. Pause. Folks, I am going to declare, there's totality of stitching right there. I am going to declare that we are at a page 34. If you agree, type page 34 into the chat or something equivalent to that. And let me say again that this machine was not fully optimized, but I did want to get it to a point where it could perform well enough to deliver a page 34 stitch. And I think we nailed it, don't you? Let's look at that lock stitch before we strut too high and too fast. There's totality of stitching, and I'm seeing some good stuff. I don't know about you. Let's zoom in on it and take a look. See if that upper tension that was absolutely non-functional when I started on Marc's machine did its job. Because remember, that upper tension again is going to define that lock stitch. That bobbin hook system in the raceway is going to define the top stitch. Folks, I'm going to call it again, and if you agree, type it in the chat. I'm going to call that this 100% genuine, authentic elk hide. That was really long, wasn't it? That was exhausting. Let's just say genuine elk hide. That the lock stitch is a page 34 as well. So I'm going to throw that to the side as a definite pass. And we're going to move to our next sew-off, which is going to be a single layer of protected full-grain leather. And I am not going to sew all the way around the edge of the protected full-grain leather, cranking this sucker by hand. There's just no way, Jose. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But on this sew-off, I'm going to cut this down a little bit, and we will watch down by the needle. Come out a little bit more. We'll watch down by the needle as we're laying these stitches down, okay? Fair enough? Damn it, I got another fruit fly after me. I almost feel inspired to do something outrageous, especially by hand. But I can't do anything outrageous at all without some sewing music. I can't do it. It's not going to happen. Okay, I think I've got that lined up pretty good. I'm just going to clip it one more time so I don't have to sew as far down. There we go. We'll just call this a stubby sew off. And if you want to see in the camera what we're going to attempt, 2 layers of protected full grain leather with a non-fully optimized 1928 Class 66 machine. I did do a fair amount of work on it mechanically, even though that was not an expectation of the customer, because I needed to get it to that page 34 level, but I didn't do my regular thing. I didn't do it. So let's see if we can get through these 2 layers and lay down some decent stitching. I didn't test this off camera, folks. I have no idea what's going to happen. If I bit off more than I should chew, considering that the machine is not fully optimized, then I will go ahead and drop it to 1 layer. I'm also going to increase our presser foot pressure just slightly, because we're going to 2 layers at this point. And I don't know why, but I'm all of a sudden inspired to have a little bit of Irish music. I have no idea why. Let's see if I can find some real quick. This should be interesting. St. Patrick's Parade. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. Yes, I am. All right. Again, I did not test this, so let's see what happens. Yes, that voice of confidence again. And if you're curious, I'm sewing with a universal size 90, which equates to a size 14 needle. So it's a universal style needle that should be able to manage leather, but it's not designed specifically for leather. It's designed for a wide field of materials. I got to turn my little fan on. I'm actually getting warm. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, that helps. Well, that was a cool parade, but it sure was a short parade, wasn't it? What's that about? Little Johnny has returned to the farm after finishing college. Scott is still cranking off that sew-off on the 2 layers of protected full-grain leather. Mary's getting ready to head off to boarding school. Dad's out in the field harvesting the crop. Jiminy crickets. Crank faster, Scott, crank faster. This is going to be one of those really long premieres. And I didn't use the bathroom before we started. Help! All right, I'm going to stop there for a second because I got to get some more Irish music on. This is called Greeting the Day with a Smile. Greeting the Day with a Smile. Yeah, I'm smiling. And sweating at the same time. Or as I said to Annette down in Texas, really cool people don't sweat, they glisten. Yeah, they do. I'm glistening right now as I'm cranking off these final stitches to finish this protected full-grain leather. Last stitch. Jiminy crickets! I like our lock stitch, but it's a little bit weak. I didn't have the upper tension quite high enough for 2 layers. This is a fun song. I like this. Oh, well, we got to do that one again. That is just jolly, isn't it? All right, let me adjust the camera. Let's adjust the camera and have a little bit more smile in the morning. Okay, here we go. Totality of the stitching, top stitch. 2 layers of protected full grain leather. If you're brand new to the channel, they call it protected because there are security guards that follow it around everywhere. No, that's not true. They call it protected because it's chemically treated to give it a protective coating to protect it against stains and to give it more durability. And we just went through 2 layers of it with me cranking it by hand. And you can see from here easily, unless you need eyeglasses, we'll work on that. That is page 34. Absolutely page 34. Let's zoom in on it and take a look for sure. Two layers of protected full grain leather, folks. Cranked off by Scott. Well, I'm going to call it page 34 top stitch. Let's look at that lock stitch. I think it's a little bit weak, but you might disagree. And again, look at from the edge what we just sewed through. It's probably about 8 ounces of leather. About 8 ounces. It's probably about close to 4 millimeters thick. Well, you know what? I was a little bit critical. I'm looking at it now and I still think it's page 34, but I think if we were going to sew a ton of this stuff, that I would just bump up that upper tension just ever so slightly to give a little bit more poppiness to this lock stitch. But you know what? It's very, very good. It's definitely page 34. There's no question about that. Let me pick a different song, because if I put it on a third time, you might end up boycotting this channel. Yeah, you will. And I can see they only gave me 2 Irish songs. What? Literally. Let's try Ireland. Let's see if that gets us a couple more. Let's see here. Let's try Ireland. Come on. I believe in you, computer. Sorta, kinda. Ireland. Oh yeah, there we got some more. Yeah, we did. Not a lot. I think we got 2 more. That's it. So this one is called Yonder Hill and Dale. Yonder Hill and Dale. Let's zoom in on this lock stitch and see if you think it needs more upper tension pulling up or whether or not we're good to go. Let's take a look. I'm still leaning towards more upper tension to make it more poppy. Yeah. But here's the thing, we know what to do. Totality of the stitching. I'm going to declare that a page 34 with the understanding that if we were going to sew a ton of this, what are we going to do? Type it in the chat. What are we going to do if we're going to sew a ton of this protected full grain leather? 2 layers of it, about 6 to 8 ounces of leather. What are we going to do to make this lock stitch more poppy? We know what to do, and we can do it very easily. So if you typed in the chat, we need to bump up our upper tension so that it's going to define that lock stitch more. Give yourself an A in the class for today. You get a free hall pass if you're ever running late, and Dr. Singer's going to write you a Christmas card. It could happen, you never know. Not to mention, I probably should do this, right? So now if you're late, you better have a hall pass. And if you don't have a hall pass, go to either Emma, Sunny, go to Maddie, or go to Mindy. I'm kind of on the M's today. I'm sorry. There's other people I could name, but go to one of those ladies. Or if Bill is here, you can go to Bill and get a hall pass so you don't get docked, okay? You don't want to get docked. So a definite pass, 2 layers of protected full grain leather, about 8 ounces of leather cranked off by me. We got a spot on top stitch, if I can grab it. Stay, be nice. Spot on top stitch, a page 34 top stitch without a doubt, a page 34 provisional lock stitch, understanding that if we want to make it absolutely rock solid, no wavering, page 34, that we would bump up that upper tension just slightly to make this more poppy. So I'm going to throw that to the side with our genuine elk hide, and all I can say is that for this machine to have started where it is and doing what it's doing now is nothing short of carpet. Yeah, no, it's nothing short of a miracle. It really is. It's the magic. It's the magic of the workshop, folks. It just is. It's the magic of the workshop. This is a machine that I didn't even plan to premiere in a functional fashion because customers said flat out, don't want it, don't need it. But you know what? If a customer gets a drop-dead gorgeous machine like this as a family heirloom and they didn't pay to have it functional, but I did it anyway, what are they going to do? Take me off of their Thanksgiving list? I don't like Marc's potatoes anyway. The gravy is great, but the potatoes are marginal. Sorry, Marc. It's just the truth. So what is this next Irish song we have? It's Minyo San Koyoko. How is that Irish? It sounds Japanese. Konnichiwa o kenki desu ka? Okay, now listen again. Minyo San Koyoko. Konnichiwa o kenki desu ka? They're both Japanese, folks. Maybe it's a Japanese-Irish person. Yeah, I'll go with that. Here we go. I don't know, I'm feeling rather oriental right now. I just don't feel like a pint of Guinness. I don't. I'm sorry. Whoever picked the title. Well, what can you do? It's YouTube. They generally do pretty well. All right, let's zoom in. Yeah, let's zoom out. You can watch me crank this last one off, which is going to be, I believe it's Italian leather. We'll go right here. That way you can watch me crank this puppy. No dogs were harmed during the filming of this premiere. I just said the word puppy. Oh, I was totally wrong. This is not Italian. This is vegetable tan leather. Vegetable tan leather like my friend Dusty sews a lot of out in Colorado. And a quick shout out to Dusty and to Dawn. They recently went on a trip and had a little mishap with their motorcycles. Thankfully, they're not hurt seriously, but I guess their bikes didn't survive as well as them. So But Dusty loves sewing this vegetable tan leather. And we're going to go through 2 layers of it, which I'll show you up close, is going to look like this. Not quite as thick as the protected full grain leather, but it's still probably about 5 ounces of leather. And I'm going to be cranking off by hand. All right, let's get this done. Our final sew off on this machine that is supposed to be non-functional, and yet we're nailing page 34 stitching with it on everything from elk hide to protected full grain leather, and now hopefully vegetable tan leather. All right, here we go. I'm glad I had 2 cups of coffee today because it's paying off right now, baby. Yeah, it is. I didn't have that all the way underneath the presser foot, and we still got traction. That was pretty cool. Now this is, if you don't know it, this is an oscillating hook system on this Class 66, which means as I'm cranking this off by hand, that hook is not going in a full rotation. It's like a pendulum going back and forth like you would see on an old mantle clock or something like that. The good thing about oscillating hook systems is that they are a lot easier to tune up, and they are less prone to having issues with heavier thread because the hook doesn't have to go a full rotation. It just oscillates or rotates or pendulumisms, if that were a real word, back and forth. So as I'm turning this, imagine it going. You know what? I do a pretty good clock. I really do. All right, more music. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get this done. Hold on a second. We're going to go back to just standard old music that runs longer, because I need it. Drifting at, what? Drifting at 432 hertz, and it runs for 23 minutes? I don't think I'm buying that, but let's see what it sounds like. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it is. Let's leave this on for a little bit. We might change it. So you can see, I mean, the machine, it wiggles a little bit because number one, the machine is not fully optimized, and I'm cranking it by hand, right? But it's not tipping over. It's not, it's not incredibly unstable. It's just a matter of, as I'm ratcheting this puppy around, we're getting a little bit of a wiggle jiggle with it, which is, is that surprising? No, it's not. Because we're going through 2 layers of vegetable tan leather at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's not an easy sew off, especially cranking it by hand. I might have to get 2 ice cream cones later today. I might have to. I might have to do that. Now, as we're looking at this machine working, and me as well, let me tell you that if you're setting this machine up to sew, as far as setting the needle, you need to make sure that that flat side is pointing to the right, towards the pillar, towards the balance wheel. And make sure that it goes all the way up in that needle bar socket. Because these Class 66s, because most of them have that thread guide as a component of the needle holder, they sometimes can get a little congested in there as you're wiggling a needle in, and people don't get it all the way up in the socket, and then they have problems. So be mindful of that. As you're putting the bobbin into the raceway, you want to make sure that the thread is coming over the top, which means as that bobbin is unwinding and feeding the thread, that it's going to be turning counterclockwise, okay? It's really essential that you set up the machine properly for sewing. It's really, really essential. We're almost there. Probably about 2 more stitches, 2 or 3 more. Last stitch. Oh yeah. I just made that very subtle adjustment on the upper tension. I bumped it up just a little bit after we sewed that protected full grain leather, and I felt like the lock stitch was a little bit weak. And you're going to love the lock stitch on this vegetable tan leather. Come on, thread. I don't want to go in the garbage can. If you didn't know thread could talk, it surely can. All right, let's take a look at these stitches. Top stitch, lock stitch. As a matter of fact, I may have gone a little bit too far with that. May have gone a little bit too far with that upper tension. Maybe just a little too far. Okay, that's our top stitch. We'll zoom in on it, and I want to show you the thickness of this as well so you can really appreciate it. And this is actually, the song is cool, but it's kind of putting me to sleep. So, let's see what we got here. Columbia City. Columbia City sounds like a fun song title, doesn't it? Let's see what that sounds like. Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is look at stitch music if I've ever heard it. Yeah, it is. Oh man. Dr. Singer, you got some moves, buddy. Yeah, you do. Mr. Bean, zoom in on that, would you please? Totality of the stitching, top stitch. Again, let me just real quick rotate the leather to show you the thickness of this. Top stitch. All right, let's zoom in on it now. Oh, I didn't even have to do that. You can see it from the side, for goodness sakes. Beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. I've got that angle a little bit wrong. Hold on a second. There we go. I think that's the way I want it. All right, let me go back the other way. Holy mackerel, we lost everything. Pause. Well, I'm going to declare, decree that that is definitely a page 34 top stitch. That was kind of a fun song, wasn't it? Modern Time. That was called Columbia City. Now let's try Modern Time, see what we think of that. Got these really wonky, don't I? Okay, so let's flip this around now and look at that lock stitch, which is definitely more poppy. And look at again from the side what we just went through. 2 layers of vegetable tan leather. All right, and now the lock stitch. And again, when we did the protected full grain leather, we were a little bit weak. I just made a modest bump up of that upper tension unit that was not even functional when I got the machine. That looks really good. Pause. 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 Well, Mark, I'm sorry to report the machine that you wanted that was non-functional is now functional. Not only functional, it's page 34 functional. Totality of the stitching. We're still going out in the cheap seats. All right, let's come right about there. So, this machine is ready to go. Not only does it look gorgeous, but it also sews gorgeous as well, even though that was not an expectation of the customer. Kind of like Dusty and I talked about when I interviewed him. He said, Scott, have you ever done something just because it's the right thing to do and not even charge the customer? Another example of it right here. You never know. One of the future ancestors of Marc's family might be a die-hard sewer and inherit this gorgeous machine. And guess what? It works. All right, lock it in place. Sorry about that. I had just a quick little fleeting thought. I was like another place, and then oh, my back. Okay, I'm back. So what is this? Night Runaway, Bonfire, Dulce, blah blah, disco, blah 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 blah, piano, blah 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 blah. Yeah, these are all. Let me go all the way to the top. See if I can find something interesting. All right, I'll go with Bonfire because it's the only thing close to click on. So hold on. This will work. Well, what can I say? Another machine is leaving the workshop, having arrived in a very rough state, and now is leaving not only transformed from an appearance standpoint, but also now just sewed through this mini sew-off sandwich while you were just watching it. And yes, my right arm is a little tired, but not really tired because I've been doing my push-ups and stuff. I'm good. I'm good. Page 34 stitching, folks. Not to mention a gorgeous machine that is now part, or will become part, of the legacy of Marc's family out of the great state of Florida, and specifically, if I didn't mention it already, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Does any of you know where Port St. Lucie, Florida is? Type it in the chat if you know anything about Port St. Lucie, Lucie. Yeah, be curious to know. I know nothing about it. Nothing at all. I know less than nothing about it. Yeah. Plus it has a functional light too. That's kind of cool, huh? Yeah. The light was not functional either when it arrived, but you know what? It is now. That's all that counts. All right, well, stay tuned for other premieres where you see machines arrive in ashes and leave like the Phoenix. And by the way, if you didn't catch it, when I opened this premiere, I opened up here by Tinkerbell and by Peter Pan, and also that funny little bird with its feet stuck through the globe is nothing other than a phoenix. And all three of these items came from the great state of Florida, from my good friend, Emma. Yeah, they did. Well, Mark, I will work on getting this packed up and get it heading towards you in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Port St. Lucie, Florida. That's just a fun name to say, isn't it? Yeah, it is. All right, y'all take care.